Let's talk about a civilization from over 3,000 years ago, a true Bronze Age superpower. They left behind these incredible palaces, unbelievable golden treasures, and of course, epic legends that we still talk about today. But for everything we think we know about the Mycenaeans, there's this one huge mystery at the heart of it all.
We can see they were fantastically rich, right? But how? How did they pull that off? What was the engine that powered this legendary civilization? Well, that is the exact question we are going to dig into right now.
Okay, so first things first, let's get our bearings. Who exactly were the Mycenaeans, and when did they really have their moment in the sun?
Yeah, see, this wasn't just some flash in the pan. The Mycenaean civilization popped up around 1600 BCE, and their influence lasted for centuries, all the way through the late Bronze Age. We're talking about a long, stable period of dominance, with these powerful city-states and palaces all over Greece.
Now, here's what's so fascinating. They actually left behind written records. But, these aren't epic poems or histories of conquest. They're basically palace inventories, lists of goods, tons and tons of them. So we have absolute proof of their wealth, but the texts themselves are totally silent on how they got it. It's kind of like looking at a company's massive bank statement, but you have no idea what their business actually is.
So, if their own records aren't spelling it out for us, where do we look? Well, we have to become detectives and follow the clues they left scattered all across the ancient Mediterranean. And the single most important clue? It's their pottery. Seriously, you can think of it as their archaeological fingerprint. It's tough, it's super distinctive, and it survives for thousands of years. So every time an archaeologist unearths a piece of Mycenaean pottery, it's like putting a pin on a map, showing us exactly where they were and what they were up to.
And let me tell you, those pins are all over the map. Of course, you find it all over Greece and the nearby islands, but the trail goes so much further. We're talking Italy, modern-day Turkey, all the way to Syria, Palestine, and even down along the coast of North Africa. This alone just paints a picture of a people who were seriously on the move.
But here's the part that'll blow your mind. Archaeologists have found their pottery fragments all the way over in Iberia. We're talking modern Spain and Portugal. This is a huge deal because it proves the Mycenaeans were sailing and trading in the far western Mediterranean long before the Phoenicians, who usually get all the credit for opening up those sea lanes. Nope, the Mycenaeans got there first.
So while their trips out west were pretty revolutionary, all the evidence points to their most important partnerships being back to the east.
And their relationships weren't all the same either. When dealing with a superpower like Egypt, everything was very formal, very diplomatic. The Egyptians even had a name for them in their official texts, the Tanaju, and they recorded them bringing formal gifts. But then you look at a place like Palestine, and it's a totally different story. The amount of Mycenaean pottery there is way, way higher. This wasn't just stuffy diplomacy. This was a busy, high-volume commercial operation. And make no mistake, people knew who they were. Their status was recognized at the absolute highest levels. On an inscription at the temple of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, from back in the 14th century BCE, Mycenae is listed right there, alongside the other great powers of the time. They weren't just merchants, they were major players on the world stage.
Okay, so all these little pieces of pottery are fantastic clues, right? They're dots on a map. But what if we could find something more? A single moment, frozen in time, that shows us the entire system in action. Well, believe it or not, archaeologists found exactly that.
Off the coast of modern-day Turkey. They found it, the Uluburun shipwreck, and it sank around 1320 BCE, right at the absolute peak of Mycenaean power.
This wreck, it tells an absolutely incredible story. The ship itself, built from the legendary cedars of Lebanon. And the cargo, it was a gold mine of raw materials, including tons of copper and tin, the literal ingredients needed to make bronze, the most important metal of the entire era. And the people on board? Well, their personal belongings suggest a Syro-Canaanite crew, but also passengers from Mycenaean Greece. Just think about that. This one ship is a perfect snapshot of the entire Bronze Age world. You've got a Lebanese ship with a Canaanite crew carrying raw materials with Mycenaean passengers, all on one voyage. This isn't just a clue. It is the entire story in a single frame. All right, so let's pull all this evidence together. Let's connect the dots and deliver the final verdict on the secret to Mycenaean power. So,
What do we have? We've got formal diplomatic ties with Egypt, confirmed in their own texts. We have a massive amount of commercial trade happening with the city-states in Palestine. We have a shipwreck from Syria that proves they were part of this incredible multicultural network, trading in the most essential materials. And we have the evidence that they somehow reached the far western shores of Iberia.
And so, the answer to that big question we asked at the beginning, the secret to all that Mycenaean wealth, it wasn't just conquest, it was connection. They were absolute masters of the sea who built and then dominated a vast and sophisticated international trade network that was the envy of the entire Bronze Age. That was their secret weapon.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? What we're seeing here is a world that was so much more interconnected than we usually imagine. So if this level of international trade and travel was happening over 3,000 years ago, it just makes you wonder, what other lost networks and forgotten connections are still out there, buried under the sand and sea, just waiting for us to find them?